Welcome back to Wi-Fi This Week. I'm joined now by Bruce Miller. He's Vice President of Product Marketing at Xirrus. Bruce, it's good to see you again.
Hi, you too, Martha. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. If you could, I'd like it if you could give us a little bit of an overview from your perspective as a vendor of the venue's need for more Wi-Fi deployments. Certainly, it isn't inexpensive for them, but they're getting into it more and more. And I'd like to hear, in your words, why more stadiums are making this investment.
Right. I think it's a pretty interesting type of dynamic that's happening. We are seeing a lot of challenges in large venues, stadiums, as you mentioned, where you're competing with the big screen and the comforts of the living room, and seeing that oftentimes fewer people are actually showing up to the games, and this can actually be the case in college stadiums, for example, when you're trying to get the students in there. And even into the pro ranks as well. So in general, the whole experience of going to a game is being augmented in many cases with lots of other types of activities, services, things that you can connect directly to the user, to the fan in the seat, so that he can have a much broader experience. Everybody is walking around with a mobile device today, so they're all bringing them to the stadium. So they expect to connect. They want to post to their Facebook that, hey, I'm here at the game and I was there when whatever happened. So it's definitely a compelling type of scenario for the stadiums themselves and the operators that are running those networks to support Wi-Fi, to connect all the fans, and to deliver potential services that can actually generate revenue for them as well. Keep them in their seats and keep those opportunities available to interact with them throughout the game. And even beyond the game as well. You essentially set up an ecosystem, and applications that can be operated or run by the fan at a different time, outside of the stadium on the concourse, in the game directly, or even at home. So it's a lot of activity going on right now. That's pretty interesting from how these games used to be played, just 5-10 years ago, and there really wasn't any of this opportunity there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those opportunities, because clearly these volumes of Wi-Fi deployment are only going to be needed 2 or 3 times a year in some of these stadiums, and yet they're paying for it, if you will, all year long. So what are some of the ways that the venues can monetize their Wi-Fi investments?
Right. Yeah. Good question. So especially in the say college stadiums, if they're general stadiums that are used just for the purpose of the college, or high school stadiums, things like that, they're oftentimes only used during the football season. Other types of locations, city-owned facilities, for example, might be used hundreds or dozens of times during the year. So it's a little bit different scenario. But I think the bottom line is, for those, whether they're used a lot or a little, how can I get the fans in the seats? How can I monetize that? So what we're seeing is the rollout of ubiquitous wireless networks across these stadiums. I can connect every fan. The mobile networks oftentimes are crowded as well. They can't connect to their provider oftentimes and even get to their 3G, 4G connection. So they can augment with the Wi-Fi, and then they can start to engage on social networks to broaden the experience from that perspective. And you can start then pushing services down to the users, such as in-game ordering of concessions or merchandise, or even seat upgrades, or streaming video and player stats and statistics to keep them interactive with the game itself. So, and I could go on and on. There's many different things. I think what's happening, though, and the trend is for the stadiums, the teams, to create a branded application that is downloaded by the user, and then they use that to interact during the game with all these services. And there's a whole plethora of them that are available. But the bottom line is this engagement scenario is now becoming quite common. Bottom line, you need a solid Wi-Fi network to make that happen if you're going to engage at that level. And that's one of the things that we provide is ensuring that experience is good. Otherwise, when I try to connect 50,000 users on the network, if it doesn't work, then they're going to obviously abandon that, and you're not going to be able to get the value. So it's a building blocks to create that solid infrastructure, and then to roll out the services on top of that.
Yes, and ensuring that is a good experience is not an easy task. We know that with high-volume Wi-Fi deployments, the access points may appear to be interfering with each other. Really, they're trying not to interfere with one another. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, good question as well. That's one of the big things with stadium deployments is you have such huge, massive numbers. You need a lot of equipment to support that. So, for example, we just recently rolled out a 60,000 seat stadium in the southeast where we needed about 800 APs to do it, and those access points are utilizing a very, very limited spectrum in reality, and so you have to deploy a lot of them. They have to repeat their use of that spectrum over and over and over again. And so you have to contain that RF, the spectrum, in a very small area, so you're only servicing, say, 100, 200 people, and then you have the next AP, and you repeat that across the stadium. And that can be pretty challenging in terms of how you mount the APs, where you put them, are they interfering with each other? It's not an easy task to solve, and so we've put together a number of techniques, unique enclosures, certain antennas, things like that allow that to occur. Every stadium is different, so for the stadium providers or integrators out there, every single one you have to walk through. You have to uniquely understand their challenges and how they're deployed, and then come up with a plan and a design that's going to accommodate that. So, we typically have a team, that provides some of those special services on top of the normal kind of surveys that you do to ensure that the installation is going to go smoothly, and then the deployment's going to actually work. And so it's another layer of service that oftentimes is required, but in the end you have to make it work. You're not going to invest $1 million or whatever it is in a stadium Wi-Fi network for 80,000 people if it's not going to work. So we have special techniques and engineers that oftentimes are involved in ensuring that doesn't happen. So one of the aspects of this type of high-density wireless is definitely having the right solutions, but also then the right installation and design to make that actually work.
Right. All right. Bruce Miller, Vice President of Product Marketing at Xirrus. Thank you very much for being here today.
My pleasure, Martha. Thank you.